Lizzie, bring that here now.
Mommy, fuck you, Beak.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey I'm fucking with. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
Yes sir, we're officially back at it. Boog Nice coming at you with another 2019 recap video. This time I'm going to be looking at my top 10 disappointments in terms of things I purchased in 2019, action figures I purchased in 2019. This will be a quickie, just going to run through some things. Now, just because one of these figures made my list doesn't necessarily mean that it was all bad. Just something that really disappointed me that I looked forward to, or something that I think they could have easily fixed or updated or upgraded or whatever the case may be. So again, this will be a quickie, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Alright, so my number 10 most disappointing figure is going to be the Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Hulk, which is actually still one of my favorite figures from this year, but I just think he could have been better. They didn't quite knock it out of the park for me. We waited so long for an updated comic-based Hulk from Marvel Legends, and they didn't quite nail this. I think the problem was the head and neck articulation, which was almost non-existent, and the fact that the butterfly joints only flex to the back and not forward. If they would have fixed those two things, I think this would have been a home run, and I think this figure would have been one of my favorites in 2019. And what's crazy is we got 3 different versions of this figure in such a short time. So the first one that was released was the SDCC 2019 exclusive, which I thought was cool. But the second one was probably my favorite out of the 3, which was the one that appeared in the box set with the first appearance Wolverine, and then the third was the Grey Hulk. All good, solid figures, but just not home runs in my opinion. My number 9 choice is going to be the Marvel Legends Caliban Build-A-Figure Wave Beast. Another solid offering here from Marvel Legends, and I really did enjoy this figure. They did include a couple of interchangeable hands. It was a great sculpt, great color, great paint. However, the fact that they didn't include an additional head sculpt, and the fact that you always had to have him sort of in an action pose, was really disappointing to me. You saw customizers like Sculptor Shelf and Anthony's Customs put out more neutral head sculpts, and I think that was a void that Hasbro should have filled. So while this was still one of my favorite figures this year, it was also one of my most disappointing. Number 8 is going to be the 1000 Toys Hellboy, and admittedly I do not even own this figure. I did order him, he did come my way, but when I got to see some reviews before I opened it and saw pictures of the figure, that right hand really annoyed me. I think it looked awful. I think the design was just really not pleasing. Aesthetically, it just did not look good to me, and I actually just raffled off the figure and never even opened him. And I do think everything else about the figure was pretty attractive. It was a very good looking figure that did photograph really nicely, and I saw a lot of nice pictures, but that hand really just turned me off. Number 7 is going to be the Mezco Toyz 112 Collective Darkside. Another figure I was really looking forward to, but at the end of the day, this figure was pretty much just a brick. Shout out to my man Century Productions, who coined the term staction figure. That's pretty much what this was, man. You weren't going to get much posability out of this guy, and again, he did look great and photographed really nicely, but they never knocked it out of the park with the classic Superman, and then they gave us one of Superman's greatest villains, and they didn't really knock it out of the park with that figure either. Just in terms of articulation, again, attractive looking figure, very expensive though, and I don't know at the end of the day if it was worth the money. Number 6 is going to be the S.H.Figuarts Tamashii Nations Captain Marvel figure. First of all, the Captain Marvel movie was just okay. It was mediocre. So I was looking for the figure to kind of boost my morale about the movie, and that didn't really happen. It was pretty much an awful sculpt and design on this figure. The colors were a little muted, and the head sculpt was just garbage. They gave it a pancake butt. It was just not a pleasing sculpt. And not that Brie Larson has the most voluptuous body, but I mean, damn, they could have embellished a little bit. This one was just really disappointing, and the fact that they're about to put out pretty much the same sculpt for the Avengers Endgame version makes me not even want to try for that figure, although I do feel like they did do a better job on that head sculpt. Still, this was a disappointing purchase for me in 2019. My number 5 choice is going to be a 2-for-1. I'm going to go with the Mezco Toyz 112 Collective Collective Cyclops figures, both of them, the PX Previews version and the regular version. Truthfully, it's my own fault because I knew I was going to be disappointed with both of these figures from the jump. I never really liked the design of either one of these figures. I don't really like the way they move, and I'm fine with my Marvel Legends version of each of these costumes, but I did spend 180 plus bucks on both of these figures just so I can get the faux leather jacket from the regular version and the unmasked head from the PX Previews version, just so I could put together a plainclothes Cyclops. So the dedication to ACBA is there, but I was just not pleased with either one of these figures, and I thought they were both whack overall. Number 4 is going to be the Mezco Mafex John Wick Chapter 1 figure. I really wanted this figure to be outstanding, and it just was not. I was so displeased with the sculpt of this figure. It just did not look like it matched Keanu Reeves' body type. The entire pelvic area was disproportionate. The thighs were too thick. He had thunder thighs, and I didn't really like the articulation scheme. I didn't like the way the hands attached to the wrist, and I didn't like the fact that some of the paint from the guns were rubbing off onto the hands. Now, the head sculpts, while they were a little soft, did look pretty good, but overall I was just not happy with this figure. And then when they dropped the second figure, which was a tad bit better, I was still completely turned off because it was the same sculpt. While the second figure did have better, more accurate head sculpts, and it did come with the dog, overall Mafex just didn't do it for me here with John Wick, and now we're still waiting on the Mezco version. Number 3 is going to be the Mezco Toyz 112 Collective Netflix Punisher. Now this figure looked amazing. The head sculpt was spot on, the clothing fit really nicely, everything looked great in photographs, but the articulation was just garbage. We were all sitting around waiting, hoping and praying that they would put Punisher on the Gomez buck, and they did not. And then within a month or two, maybe less than a month, they released the Stealth Ops Gomez on the buck that we all expected Netflix Punisher to be on, and just kind of shit on all the fans. A lot of people disappointed about that, and I did not take kindly to that. I think they could have easily knocked Punisher out of the park if they would have put him on that Gomez buck, and because of that, this was one of my most disappointing purchases of 2019. But again, it's that bittersweet feeling because he photographs so freaking nicely. Too bad. My number 2 choice is going to be the Mezco Mafex Amazing Spider-Man Venom figure. Earlier in 2019, in March, if I'm not mistaken, Mezco put out what is arguably the best Spider-Man ever released in 6-inch form. And all of us just knew we were going to get the best 6-inch Venom we ever received, but unfortunately that was not the case. While the figure did look great, had some great accessories, had great articulation, it did have some problems with QC as far as some of the joints being loose, and he was just small. We did not expect him to be this small. We wanted him to be a little more hulking and bulkier than Spider-Man. Me personally, like I always say, I like my villains to be a little bit larger than my heroes, and it just wasn't the right scale, and that really disappointed me. While I still do think the figure looks great, photographs great, the size of this figure really bothers me, and this is why he is number 2 on my list. My number 1 most disappointing figure in 2019 should come as no surprise to you if you've been following my channel. It's going to be the Marvel Legends Wendigo Build-A-Figure Wave Cannonball. And primarily, the reason that he made number 1 on my list is because he was incomplete. My man did not have any legs. Hasbro really dropped the ball on this. He could have been one of the best figures in 2019 had he been packed in with the blast effect and some legs where you could detach the blast effect, attach the legs, and swap between the two. What am I going to do when I complete my 90s X-Force team and I can't have them in an ACBA portrait style display? I need that full range of playability when I'm taking photos of my figures. I don't only want them in action sequences. I want to be able to put them in vanilla sort of stoic poses and really make things look cool and a kind of relaxed display. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that with Cannonball. Maybe down the line they will include his legs packed in with somebody else like they did Apocalypse's Claw with Archangel. I don't know, but this one really ticked me off, and this is why he is my number 1 most disappointing purchase in 2019. Alright y'all, talk to me in the comments below. Let me know what some of your disappointing purchases were in 2019. Thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.